guys, I am the CHALL, your Youngster Rovers channel, and welcome to another DRFC Daily Reports. Now, we've got two massive stories today from Darren Moore. One, sharing his disappointment on the fans not being back in stadiums, and the second story about his transfer plans coming towards the end of the window. Because don't forget, mid-October, deadline day. So we've only got a couple of weeks until the window closes. So, and there's a couple of positions that I still feel we need to add in. There's a couple of positions where he feels he needs to add in. And, we're going to be going through all of that today. So not the full articles. We're going to share with you some key pointers from each article and share with you my thoughts. And so let's get straight into it. Let's get straight into the video. So make sure you like, comment, subscribe, click the notification bell so you never miss a YouTube video, and let's get started. So let's talk about transfer targets. So this information is from the Free Press, and the information that I've picked up from the article reads as follows. Moore has completed the majority of the transfer business for this summer, but apparently he's still keen to add more options into his squad. So at the top of his list is a central midfielder along with a right back. We know that Seaman's currently mulling over a final contract from Rovers. Now, we do have an official quote, an official statement from Darren Moore to the Free Press. And Darren Moore quotes, I think looking at it, if I had to say one, I would say we'd need a little more cover in the central zones, midfield zones. That would probably be the standout area at the minute, and we're looking at areas where we could possibly strengthen. But he already has positions in mind where we'd like to make additions before the October 16th deadline. Moore says he will continue to assess his squad to decide whether other signings are required. So on that particular statement, he went on to say to the Free Press, at the moment it's been a good period for me to look at the team and how we're settling down at certain areas. While we maintain clear focus on the league, we can analyse the squad through the week and see where it is and gives us that. At the moment nothing is happening, but in the secondary stages where we're looking at the squad and where it's at, and of course, with the fixture programme, we know it's set to intensify in the next few weeks, including 8 matches in 28 days in October. Moore is keen to have as many options as possible at his disposal. But for now, at least, it's said he will continue to be put through the players through their paces in training to ensure that they're in the best possible condition. And on this, he said, we just continue to keep going. The players keep working, getting fitter, stronger and more robust. All those things we're trying to build at this stage of the season. And the last couple of weeks we've had a few little strains and knocks, which you can expect, but we're going to continue to develop, nurture and work players into this season. And the final statement from that is, we're well into it. So that right there, big story from Darren Moore on the transfer targets. Now, basically the main information to pick up from that article is the fact that he's looking at a central midfielder and a right back. So those are the two of the positions that we're looking at that's been highlighted in the article. And right back I can get because of course Seaman. We spoke about that yesterday in one of 2 DRFC Daily Reports episodes. We spoke about Seaman, the fact that he's been given the deadline for the end of this week to sign the contract. If not, they're looking at other options. I know somebody commented down below, what about Sunderland's right back? Now, I'm not too sure if he meant Conor McLaughlin or Luke O'Neill, but I think both of them would be good additions to the club. Central midfield. Now, that, my friends, is where I'm kind of confused because, fair enough, we do need extra players in that position, but and a holding midfielder specifically, I think another holding midfielder, in case Whiteman or Gomez got suspended or injured, would be a good fit. But, looking at the midfield in the central area entirely, we're looking at Holding and Cam. If you look at all 3 of those positions as backups, you've got, obviously the main players are usually Whiteman and Gomez and then Richards as the Cam. So we've got Coppinger and Williams already on the bench. We've got Hassani as a youth player. And we've got a couple of other youngsters. Greaves obviously out on loan. Liam Ravenhill, he showed signs in the pre-season he could do something with the first team, but I think he's going to be, in development with the youth academy along with the centre-back Ben Blythe, who also showed some signs in pre-season. So I do think those two will focus more on the youth, the under-18s for now. So look, on the basis of it, yeah, maybe we do need another holding midfielder just to provide that extra depth and quality into the squad. It's hard at the minute to get ahead of Ben Whiteman and Madja Gomez. It is very hard to get ahead of both of them, but in case there is an injury or a suspension, or the need, to be dropped to the bench just for fitness, etc., you do need an extra option in there. And obviously Coppinger and Williams, they're more the cam positions. They're more where Richards play, and of course Williams can also play on the right wing. I think Coppinger can play on the right wing as well as the left wing. So, obviously with the injury to Tulloch for a couple of weeks, we do need some extra players in that area. I said we need at least one more out-and-out winger to provide competition for either Taylor on the left or Lakilo on the right. And, I don't know. I think that if you're looking at a holding midfielder, like a central holding midfielder, then yes, I can guarantee that. Because... and to be fair, somebody said it in the comments of one of the more recent daily reports. He did say that, Coppinger could play on the wing, Coppinger could play on cam, Williams is the same. And I actually replied, I said that, even though it's good to have versatility in the squad, I do think we need at least one more out-and-out winger. So the versatile players can focus on their preferred positions as well, more than the versatile positions. In terms of a holding midfielder, I mean, EFL Hub on Twitter, they're not the most reliable of sources to many fans, but, Barnsley's holding midfielder Dougal, he's apparently a target, according to EFL Hub, over the last couple of weeks. I don't believe that until we see it on the shirt, but, it'd be nice to get that, it would be. Another player that I've been interested in is Jackson Irvine, of course released by Hull City, or Marcus Henriksen. But I did do the research. On both Jackson Irvine and Marcus Henriksen to see if they were still in clubs, or if they'd moved clubs after being released by Hull City. Now, Irvine last played for Hull City, but looking more detailed into Irvine, he doesn't currently have a club. So it would be nice to see Jackson Irvine playing in a Rovers shirt, because he's got Championship and League One experience, and he would be a player that I would recommend in that midfield to give us more depth and quality. But of course, the last report that we heard about Jackson Irvine is that him, Islam Bekwat and some other free agents could be solving the midfield at Hibernian, so maybe Jackson Irvine could be a Hibernian target. Now, looking then at his counterpart, the other midfielder at Hull City, Marcus Henriksen, we know that he's been out of a club since he's been released by Hull City when they got relegated, along with Jackson Irvine. Now, of course, it was said a few weeks ago that Henriksen is close to making a decision on his next club, and apparently the Turkish giants Galatasaray were one of the targets. And then looking into what he's doing now, he last played for Bristol on loan from Hull City, and currently he still doesn't have a club. So I think that looking here at Marcus Henriksen, if he doesn't go to somewhere like a Galatasaray, if he does decide to drop down to League One level, which I don't think he will, then he would be a good fit. He definitely would be, but obviously we don't know at this stage what's going to happen with that, because of course I think looking at the two, the more realistic choice we'd pick is probably Jackson Irvine. Dougal from Barnsley, that's another one. Could he be a choice maybe to bring in on transfer? But, again, we'll have to see with that one. Obviously, we did have holding midfielders involved in the trials. We had Watu Kouate, but I think his past track record with the negativity in his discipline would have provided a bad morale to the dressing room, and I think that was probably the best way to not go with him. So it's going to be interesting to see who we get in this holding midfield position if we're looking at a holding midfielder in terms of central midfield targets. And I think looking at between Hendrickson, Dougal and Irvine, I would go for Irvine, but I think a dream signing would be Hendrickson, especially if he could be targeted by Galatasaray. But we'll see with this one. We'll absolutely 100% see with this one. Hopefully Rovers can sweeten the deal a bit with Hendrickson. But comment down below, is there any other central midfielders that you guys think we should sign if we're looking in that position? Obviously right back's going to be the same. Comment down below if you know any right backs we could sign. Again, like I said, Conor McLaughlin, Luke O'Neill from Sunderland could be good. Charlie Seaman obviously is our target at the minute. Obviously he's the one that we got the contract for by the end of the week. So hopefully Charlie Seaman will sign the contract and we can make him a Doncaster Rovers player by the end of the week. And that'll give us some more good form going into the Bristol Rovers game this weekend. Finally then, let's have a look at Darren Moore's thoughts on fans not being in stadiums and the fact the Free Press shares his disappointment. So looking then at the Free Press article and picking some of the key points from it, Darren Moore has admitted he is bitterly disappointed there'll be no fans in the Keep Moat and there'll be a further delay to supporters being allowed back. But he does insist that safety is paramount in plans for the return of fans. And of course, if you want a bit of background on this story, the government did confirm just yesterday that plans for the staggered return of fans had been placed on hold due to the rising infection rate of the coronavirus. And this came just 3 days after the pilot schemes were held at 7 EFL matches, where up to 1,000 spectators were permitted into the grounds. That included the Rovers' trip to Charlton Athletic nearly a whole week ago. I can't believe it's nearly been a whole week since the Charlton match. Now, Moore has said that his appetite whetted for his side to be playing back in front of their own supporters, something which will now not happen for the foreseeable future. So commenting on this, he said to the Free Press, and I quote, "I certainly, after the experience at Charlton, was really looking forward to welcoming our home fans back. But unfortunately, we know it's going to be a while yet. But I kept saying it, but the safety is the main focus, and it has to be that. The frustrations grow, and that is understandable, but it has to be that. You can only say it's only been kept away because of the safety element, but it is disappointing." So if you want a bit more background on this, the Cabinet Office Minister Michael Gove insisted the government remains committed to the return of crowds as soon as possible. So that there is a big story around fans not being back in stadiums, and I can get why Moore is very upset about this. I mean, to be fair, I'm upset not to be back, but of course safety is key. So with the rising cases of coronavirus, obviously we saw the announcement from Boris Johnson at 8 o'clock last night. A load more restrictions have been put in place, tougher restrictions. Pubs and restaurants had the curfew, 10 a.m. Things like taxi drivers and passengers in taxis, of course, they have to wear masks now. There's going to be more laws changed as well. There'll be tougher restrictions in local areas where more cases have arisen. Obviously this is not a politics channel, so we don't want to get into the politics of it. We focus on the football, but you've got to worry. Obviously, you've got to have a worry because with the rising cases, you do worry that if things don't change, we will go into, what we all dreaded, which is a second national lockdown, which is something we don't want. It's something we all don't want, and that's what the government don't want to do. But if push comes to shove and there's no way of stopping it, then the only option is a second national lockdown. And of course, economically, that is going to be a massive drought. And I saw an article, even if we don't go into it, more than 10 EFL and National League clubs could go bust. More than 10. And that was more than what was being affected. This is a bigger disaster for football than the ITV Digital Administration. This is much bigger than this because you remember ITV Digital, many clubs went into administration. Bradford, Barnsley, I think Nottingham Forest as well. It's just to name a couple. They all went into the administration. Bury went into that first administration. It took the fans to save the club at that stage. And of course, we all know the story of the bad businessman that came and destroyed them and put the final nail in the coffin. But, ITV Digital started the gap, really, in my opinion. I think when the money came into the Premier League, the Premier League sort of went away, and they sort of they got the money into the Premier League because it was the top division. They're the ones attracting the big sponsors and things like that. But now, especially at a time like this, ITV Digital and the collapse of that, which affected loads of lower league clubs, that was bad enough. But this has to be the final nail in the straw where the Premier League actually does something to help lower league clubs. I think Man U and Man City should have played a little part in helping Bury out and Bolton out. I feel like, big clubs around the Macclesfield area or near to the Macclesfield area could have helped out a little bit, maybe to, help support the club. But now is the time where the football pyramid comes together rather than goes apart. You've got to help them out. And I was hearing TalkSport last night, and they were talking about like an emergency fund vault, like the Premier League setting aside some money, and money coming from each leagues, and then the money gets saved in a vault, and then when something like this, like the coronavirus or the collapse of ITV Digital, something like that happens, you get some money out the vault and you send them to the leagues. Now, the Premier League getting more money than the rest, I don't agree with that. I think the Premier League has got enough money as it is, and obviously today you'll have seen on TalkSport an interview with the West Ham owner, David Sullivan, saying they're struggling to make transfers and they actually defend not investing. And it's people like that one, talk absolute BS, and two, don't belong in the sport. It's people like that don't belong in the sport. People that actually defend not progressing a club and not making progress while defending the fact that they don't spend money to progress the club. It's people like that ruin the sport. Businessmen that don't care about the sport as well. That's what's killed the game. And I've said this in past videos. I've said what we need is someone to represent all 4 divisions. So all of them get equal sponsor rights, equal rights in the status of the leagues and divisions, status in football, status financially. It's all equal. So none feels bigger than the other. And and I said the salary caps make League 1 and League 2 look like non-leagues compared to Championship and Premier League. And to be fair, I was thinking, well, why would major sponsors want to sponsor lower league clubs? And that is because the Premier League and to an extent the Championship have been, they're the big ticket holders. They're the golden tickets. They are the big draw for football. And League 1 and League 2 have been just swept under the carpet. And any team from the Championship that drops into League 1, that's it, you're done. Because you're not going to get out. You're just not. If you go back to the Championship, you're going to go straight back down on the first time of asking, because they're putting a cap on League 1 and League 2, making them look like non-league football. And the Championship's the big draw for the EFL, and the Premier League's obviously, financially stable. And that's not right. League 1 and League 2 deserve the same respect. So there needs to be more investment in League 1 and League 2 now. Championship, to an extent, they could be fine, even though they're not spending as much as they could have done. Premier League, they're always financially stable, so they're going to be alright. It's League 1 and League 2 where there needs to be equal rights and investment. There needs to be better treatment of League 1 and 2. And it's times like this where businessmen need to stop being businessmen and be actual human beings and show some respect. So, I share Moore's disappointment. Moore's so upset that fans can't come back into the stadiums. And, that's why, the coronavirus has really affected, this is, on record, the coronavirus is the worst disaster worldwide since the Spanish flu of 1918. That's how serious this is. And people don't think it's too serious. And people actually just take it like, oh, it's going to go away, it doesn't affect me. It affects every single person in the flaming planet. So for those that think it doesn't affect them or just carry on breaking the rules, you're nothing but lowlifes and scumbags, and we don't need you around here. Go to America. I'm sure they're doing fine with a bad president and no rules whatsoever. And I think that, if you want to break the rules, you go ahead and break the rules, because you're just risking your own life. And, you know, like I said, this is a time where the Premier League need to be more considerate for the lower leagues and show them some support, show them some help. Don't keep money, save money towards lower league clubs. Like I said, this emergency vault fund, that should be set up. That should have been set up years ago. That should have been set up years ago. There should have been Premier League giving £100 million to a vault, and then that vault gets spread around. So 50 million goes to League One, and £50 million gets spread around League Two. Each club gets a section of that £50 million, and that would keep them up financially stable, at least financially stable, with a million or two in the bank. That is what they should have been doing. But the Premier League have kept money, and the chief executive is one of those chief executives that orders clubs to pay him £250,000 as a bonus. It's, you know, there needs to be more dignity and respect in the lower leagues. But, you know, I mean, we'll see what happens. But I think League One and League Two are going to be most affected by this, and there needs to be more respect put on their name. So, I mean, obviously League One, League Two clubs are going to worry. Of course they're going to worry. But, you know, this is a time where we need to have the Premier League show us some respect. So, there we go. So that is talking about the two massive stories today from the DRFC Daily Reports. Obviously, I'll be back tomorrow with another DRFC Daily Reports. Then on Friday, we've got our preview of the Bristol Rovers game. And then on Saturday, we've got our match review. Hopefully, we do have a good game on that day. So thank you very much, guys, for watching this video. I am the CHALL. Please like, comment, subscribe. And for now, guys, goodbye.